Hi, everybody. Thanks for being with us. I'm Dave Freilich here with meteorologist Matt Verhune, and what a cold, chilly, messy Friday we got here.
Yeah, we've had a lot of mist and drizzle and light rain across the area. And a few times we've got some moderate shower activity. You, Dave?
Matt, thanks. Police were called to check out reports of a naked, bleeding man running down the street on Staples near Morgan late last night. When they showed up in the area, they found a 25-year-old man who had been severely beaten. He told the officers he'd gone to an apartment near 10th and Elizabeth to pay some money he owed, but after he paid up, he says he was attacked, pistol whipped, and beaten with a frying pan and was able to escape by jumping through a window. Police went looking for the scene. They found it at 1339 Elizabeth.
City police!
After breaking down that door, police say they found evidence of a fight in the apartment with a frying pan with a broken handle. They also found the victim's clothes and wallet. The suspects were not at the apartment. Police do know who lives at the apartment. They're still on the lookout for those two people. Meanwhile, the victim was taken to the hospital where he's being treated for his injuries. A local cancer clinic is open for business today after being searched yesterday by federal officials. Let's look at the facts first. Last month, South Texas Comprehensive Cancer Centers got a letter from the Food and Drug Administration notifying it that it was one of a number of facilities that bought batches of the drug Avastin that might be questionable. The letter said 2 batches from March might be counterfeit and harmful to patients. Avastin is an injectable drug used to treat cancer patients. We also want to make it clear that the doctor is not being investigated for a crime. Our Mike Manzoni has more on what the doctor has to say about this situation.
I'm upset.
Dr. Grawe's office says private clinics have to pay as much as 50% more than what hospitals pay for cancer drugs, which is why they often buy drugs from discount suppliers. More than 100,000 people are expected to visit Corpus Christi for spring break starting today. Last spring break, Corpus Christi police arrested dozens of people for public intoxication. The police department will have 16 to 22 officers patrolling 16 miles of our beaches. Officials say sheriff's deputies and DPS troopers will also be on patrol. Spring break will also be a no refusal period. That means if you're suspected of drinking and driving and you refuse a breathalyzer, you will have your blood drawn. Also remember that glass containers are not allowed on beaches in Corpus Christi or Port Aransas. Dogs won't be allowed on the beach from Access Road 3 to Zahn Road. Pallets with nails in them aren't allowed on the beach. And police want to remind everyone to leave their couches and recliners at home because those are also not allowed. More than 100,000 people again visiting over the break, and that does mean increased traffic on our roads. One area you might want to watch out for is the Harbor Bridge. Repair work will continue next week. The bridge will have one lane closed each direction every day from 9 till 4. Traffic officials say some parking underneath the bridge will also be blocked where new supports have been put up. A hearing will be held Monday afternoon on a request for a restraining order against new redistricting maps. At that time, it's expected federal judge Nelva Ramos will announce a decision. The group that filed the request held a rally outside the county courthouse on Wednesday to protest the voting map that commissioners have submitted to the Department of Justice. The plan would impact boundaries for county commissioner precincts 1 and 3, but opponents say it's unfair to Hispanic voters. Meanwhile, county election officials say they're going ahead with plans to hold a primary election on May 29th. February job numbers came out today, and even though the unemployment rate stayed the same, more jobs were created than economists predicted. How will this play out on the campaign trail? Tracy Potts is on Capitol Hill with that story. Jason Russell, the man behind Kony 2012, appeared on the Today Show this morning and talked about that video that's gone viral. Kony 2012 is a 30-minute film that depicts the alleged human rights abuses of Ugandan warlord Joseph Kony and his Lord's Resistance Army. Kony's accused of murder, mutilations, rape, and forcing an estimated 66,000 children to fight for him. He was indicted by the International Criminal Court in 2005. Russell is asking thousands of people across the world to put up signs and posters on April 20th in the hopes of bringing Kony and his alleged atrocities to the limelight. The federal government is helping a 101-year-old Detroit woman get back into her home after evicting her from that property last fall. This is file of the home Texana Hollis had lived in for nearly 60 years. She was evicted last fall after her 65-year-old son failed to pay property taxes linked to a reverse mortgage. HUD evicted Hollis and left her belongings outside of that house. Just days later, the department decided she could return after repairs were done. That work is underway. Hollis says she's delighted she'll be able to get back to her home. Since the eviction, she's been living with a caregiver nearby. And Coca-Cola and Pepsi will change the way they make the caramel coloring used in their products after concerns were raised that the additive might cause cancer. Studies in mice suggest a chemical used to make caramel coloring may become cancerous during the cooking process. A California law mandates drinks containing certain amounts of carcinogens come with cancer warning labels. By changing the way they make the coloring, Coke and Pepsi will be able to avoid these warning labels. Now, representatives for the companies say consumers will not notice a difference, and they believe there is no public health risk to justify the change. The Food and Drug Administration is investigating whether caramel coloring could cause cancer, but a spokesperson said someone would need to drink 1,000 cans a day to reach levels shown to cause cancer in mice. Welcome back. Always fascinating to talk with pharmacist Robert Moore. We appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Got another free seminar coming up next week. We're going to get to the details on that, but it's really talking about cholesterol and heart disease, pretty broad topics, but tell us a little bit about what the focus is.
Yeah, well, primarily heart disease from the standpoint, like we talked earlier, there are so many other diseases that we see that seem to just only affect a few people, whereas, you know, this is 1 in 2 that they're going to have either have this or we're going to know somebody that does. And so it's a really, we face a lot of these days.
Over $250 billion annually in this country in costs fighting, preventing, treating heart disease. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. That's kind of the point.
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I mean, the goal is if we can, doesn't seem as though we really have that kind of money to spend on these kind of things. And so, again, if we could take some of that and put it into the proper things, better nutrient, maybe better exercise, better understanding as far as hormones are concerned, everything that influences it, then maybe we can save on the back end.
And Robert, you're going to get into this a lot in your seminars that are coming up next week, but one thing I know you're going to focus on is cholesterol. That's kind of become a dirty word in some instances. People don't really understand what they're talking about when they're talking about cholesterol.
I just think that's it. We hear the word and we automatically associate disease with it, and yet really the body needs a certain amount every day to function properly. The liver makes a certain amount every day.
I thought that was so interesting that I didn't know. I know so many people probably don't know how much cholesterol your own body makes before you eat anything.
Yeah, somewhere around 1,000 milligrams, and we get 200 to 300 milligrams in our diet. So again, it seems as though it has a purpose in the body, and maybe it's not as bad as we've been led to believe that it is.
Instead of focusing so much on cholesterol, you're just laying out some very simple things like exercise, pure water, drinking as much water as you can, avoid smoking. Those simple, common sense things that maybe so many people don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. And make small steps. We talked about how important it is not to overwhelm people when they want to get better. But, you know, can you exercise a few days? Can you take a few extra steps in a week? You know, can you get your water intake up? Are there a few nutrients that you can get started on that will change things from a natural standpoint? You know, just small steps become really big steps later on down the road.
Yeah, if you're really overweight, if you're really out of shape, you're not going to fix that overnight. No. But that's not an excuse or reason to just give up on everything altogether. Take a look at the things you can do.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
And, okay, there's the information on the screen because you're going to get into, we wish we had more time. You're going to have plenty of time. There's 2 seminars, noon and 7, at the Moore's Compounding Pharmacy at 5945 McCardle. It's next Thursday, correct?
That's correct.
And there's the RSVP phone number. You will also take some walk-ups as well, right?
We'll do that if they come up. Yeah, it's fine.
You appreciate the call.
You bet.
All right, Robert, thank you so much. Always Thanks. So. All right, a man in Montana has pleaded not guilty to animal cruelty charges after his 20-pound dog became so intoxicated it couldn't stand up. Back on March 1st, Helena police responded to a report of an intoxicated dog outside a bar, and that's where officers found Arlie, a very drunk Pomeranian. Court records say this dog was given a to-go cup full of vodka. Where can you get those? The dog's blood alcohol level was 0.348%. As a point of reference, an alcohol level of 0.4 can be fatal in humans. Well, Arlie handled it, I guess. He's at a shelter until this case is resolved.
I want to see what Arlie looks like.
Probably Arlie wants to see what Arlie looks like. He probably doesn't remember. How are we doing on the weather this morning?
I bet when you have that much alcohol in you, it looks foggy outside, doesn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think the lights go out, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it
is told.
Yeah, even without alcohol, it's foggy here in parts of Corpus Christi. And
now to a follow-up on that pack of wild chihuahuas running loose in a West Side neighborhood. Animal control and code enforcement officers have traps set to try to catch these dogs. Meanwhile, a citation, I think they did catch some of them yesterday. I don't think that's a Chihuahua. Citation issued to the owner of an abandoned, I guess catch all the dogs. Owner of an abandoned house where the dogs had been living. Why do I feel Dan Rather coming on, Matt? Until then, courage. Matt, how's the forecast looking today?
all I can think of is yip, 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 yip. Isn't that the sound the Chihuahuas make?